Well, the troops are absurdly enthusiastic about their jobs. I have trouble sharing their enthusiasm when we're being shot at or if we're lying somewhere cold and wet and awful. But especially the infantry guys, they have been training for this all their lives, and they show a perverse enthusiasm for the most awful situations.
Now, why do you say absurdly enthusiastic?
Well, because it really is, I think, a little bit unhealthy to enjoy dangerous, difficult situations quite as much as they do. But they do, and that's, you know, this is what they've trained for. It's what they want to do. There are some of the younger soldiers who just started and weren't quite sure whether they wanted to be in the military or not. And after about, I think, 10 minutes in Kandahar, they realized that they didn't really want to be in the military. But for the most part, yeah, most of them are quite enthusiastic about their jobs.
What is it that they like about their jobs?
I think they like the difficulty of it. You know, for a young man to be able to go to the other side of the world and sort of to prove yourself in battle, you know, generations of young men have been aching to do that throughout the centuries, and the Canadians are no exception.
I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but do they get joy out of killing people?
I don't think they get joy out of killing people. I think they get joy out of heroism and adventure. What's
a typical day like for them?
It depends who they are, but for the battle group, for the combat soldiers, they'll wake up on a cot often, and the first thing they see when they open their eyes is the morning sun and the blue sky, because the sky is always blue, usually, and they're usually outside. And
they sleep outdoors?
They sleep outdoors.
Not intense?
Sometimes intense, but you know, if they're moving around, as they almost always are, then they're waking up beside their armored carriers, and they're often in what's called a leaguer. So the armored carriers are in a circle somewhere, maybe in the desert or some sort of protective formation, and they wake up with the dawn, and they go to bed when it's dark.
And again, not meaning to be ridiculous about this, but are they not worried about snakes or scorpions or other terrible things that they're going to get bitten by in the middle of the night?
Yeah, of course they're terribly worried about snakes and scorpions, because I actually saw some troops improvise a flamethrower with a can of WD-40 and a lighter just to get at a camel spider that was terrorizing them. So yeah, they're worried about these things.
That just proves they're normal if that's the case.
Right.
The conditions that they are trying to operate in right now. Let's just start with the weather. What's it like over there now?
Right now it's cold. It gets down to about 0 in the wintertime. You know, last winter we had a lot of rain. It rained every single day through the winter, and the mud was awful. It was knee-deep and caused a lot of problems. This winter, the mud is not quite as bad. It hasn't rained quite as much. And so the winter is actually quite pleasant sometimes, especially in November when the temperatures get down. It feels like a nice fall day in Canada.
And there are 3 squares a day every day?
Yeah.
That's not an issue.
Though the troops haven't gone hungry. There have been some problems with the supply chains because the roads are getting increasingly worse. But no, they haven't gone hungry.
Okay. The relationship between Anglophone and Francophone soldiers, I presume they're serving together?
Yeah.
How's that working out?
It works most of the time. There has been some tension. I did a series of photographs recently of the bathroom walls, sort of on a whim, where you know, just the graffiti showed that the Anglos were squabbling with the Francos in quite graphic terms. You know.
Can you tell us?
Well, not on TV, I think.
Can't say it.
It's you know, a lot of the stuff just wouldn't go. But there's a lot of, you know, tête carré and stuff like that going back and forth.
What is the language in which orders are given?
English usually.
Is there any French spoken?
But if it's just a French unit, then they'll give the orders in French. Yeah.
Okay, that's the relationship between French and English. How about the relationship between Canada's soldiers and the local Afghan population? How's that working out, from what you've seen?
It comes and goes. If we've killed someone recently, then it tends to go. You know, the Canadians have had some instances where they've shot some people on the roads, usually at when they're stopping vehicles, and the vehicles don't stop, and then they have to open fire. The Canadians haven't had quite as many civilian bombing incidents as some of their neighbors in Uruzgan and Helmand, but there have been those incidents over the last 2 years, and that tends to deteriorate things very quickly when the local hospital fills up with people who have suffered bomb blast injuries.
Graeme, we've got this idea of the sort of average private soldier who hands a chocolate bar to a local kid or something like that, and that's how the bond is established. But is there any of that kind of low-level contact going on, or is it all higher-ranking people dealing with higher-ranking people in various tribes?
Those things do happen, and what's sad about it is that they're often set pieces, you know. And I was at a soccer game where the Canadian soldiers were helping out with a soccer program, and so the soldiers were mixing with the kids, and it was all very, you know, telegenic. But it doesn't happen often enough, and so that is one of the real problems with the Canadian mission, is that the Canadians are a little bit insulated inside the wire from the Afghans, and don't have a good visceral understanding for their issues.